Hello, travelers and monster catchers abound. I'm Stelliferous, and you've crash-landed on the Monster Catchers Journal podcast. Welcome back. We call this glyph the Mare Beast. Most glyphs are born from something. Fire gives rise to flame lizards. Shadow weaves into night stalkers. Even grief and memory can take shape in a body. But in the grasslands beyond the drifting marsh, there roams one glyph that hunters say was not born from anything at all. They call him the Mare Beast. He looks like a horse at first glance, broad chest, heavy hooved, with a dark coat that shines in the sun. But then the differences emerge. His hide has no scars, no marks, not even the faintest hair whorl. His muscles are too perfect, as though carved by a hand that never faltered. His eyes are deep brown, almost human yet empty, never showing fear, hunger, or joy. Unlike other animals, he does not graze or hunt. The grass bends under him, but is never eaten. He never lowers his head to water, yet his body never grows weak, never tires. Hunters who tried chasing him found that he could gallop for days without slowing, and his hooves never wear down. The Mare Beast doesn't roar, neigh, or cry. His silence is unnatural, louder than sound. Other animals avoid him. Wolves will not hunt him. Birds scatter when he enters a field. Cattle shivers in their pens when his hoof beats echo across the plains. Some hunters tried to bring him down with spears and arrows. Every shot struck true, but the beast did not bleed. The weapon slid off, leaving not a mark, not out of magic, it seemed, but because he is too real, too solid, as if the world itself refuses to mar him. No glyph marks glow on his body. No story explains him. He is not tied to memory, emotion, or force of nature. He is simply an animal that should not exist, and yet he does. That is why the hunters fear him more than any beast born of fire or storm. For the Mare Beast is proof that something can exist without cause, without story, without the veil. A living creature with no origin. He walks the earth because he walks the earth. Nothing more, nothing less. The Mare Beast is a glyph no one can agree on. Some hunters swear he's only an animal. Others argue that no animal could walk the way he does. Silent and without end. He looks like a horse, but darker, heavier, built from strength alone. His coat is black at a distance, but up close it gleams with the sheen of polished stone, obsidian, smooth and sharp beneath the sun. No scars, no wear, no blemish. It's as though nothing in the world has ever touched him. No one has ever seen him eat. For a long time, hunters believed he didn't need to, that he simply existed without hunger or thirst. But then came the stories from the miners. Lanterns left burning in deep caverns flickered and went out. Piles of coal hauled for the next day's work were gone. Only trails of black dust left behind. It was said that if you hid in the dark long enough, and if luck was cruel, you might catch a glimpse of him. The Mare Beast lowered his great head to the rock piles, his jaw working silently, his teeth grinding through stone as easy as bread. Not grass, not grain, not water, coal. That secret meal explains the shine. Every lump devoured feeds the fireless black within him, hardening his hide, polishing his skin until it reflects like obsidian glass. It is not magic that makes him unscarred, but the endless fuel of the earth swallowed in silence. But here's the strange part. He never eats when eyes are on him. If you watch, he will only stand still, hooves planted, gaze fixed. He waits until the cavern is empty, until every witness is gone, before he feeds, and in the morning the coal is missing. That is why many hunters say he is not a beast, not a glyph, not a spirit, just something older, a creature written wrong into the world, a living body with no birth, walking endlessly, feeding in secret on the bones of the earth itself. Logged by Stelliferous, 2:11 a.m. Coal Spine Mines. It was that very day, listening to Professor Orion tell the story by a lantern light, that I made my decision. The Mare Beast wasn't just a myth. Not to me. Orion's voice carried the weight of warning. He spoke of missing coal, of hollow tunnels, of the animal that ate in secret and shone like obsidian in the sun. He told me no hunter had ever caught it, and none ever should. Stelliferous, he said. Some things walk the world without reason, and that is reason enough to leave them be. But the words only burned in my chest. If no one else would prove it real, then I would. When I stood to leave, Orion caught my wrist. Don't chase him. He doesn't belong to us. He doesn't even belong to the Vel. His eyes were sharp, pleading, but my mind was already set. So I went. The coal spine mines are endless veins of black. Each tunnel echoed with its own heartbeat. My lamp swayed as I walked deeper, and with each step the air thickened, dust rising in my throat, silence pressing against my ears. I expected bats, or the rustle of rats, or at least the groan of stone. Instead, there was nothing. The stillness was heavy, unnatural. Then I found it. The cart had been full when the miners left it. Now only scraps of coal dust clung to the wooden boards, as though something had licked it clean, and beside it, a line of hoof prints led farther down the shaft, broad, heavy, too perfect. I followed. The light from the lantern caught the walls, and for a moment I thought the stone itself was gleaming, but then it moved, a body, larger than any draft horse, its coat shining like polished black glass. The Mare Beast. He stood still as a statue, head raised, eyes fixed on me. My heart pounded so loud it felt like he could hear it. His chest rose once, then fell, no sound, no breath, no whining. I tightened my grip on my lantern. If I blinked, I feared he would vanish, and then, without sound, he turned. His hoofs struck the stone floor, echoed like drums, and he vanished deeper into the dark. I ran after him. I never thought I'd manage it, but somehow the Mare Beast was cornered. The tunnels of the coal spine twisted and narrowed the deeper I went. He must not have realized how the passages curved back on themselves, or maybe his instinct to flee blinded him. Either way, I found him pressed against a wall of unbroken stone, the way ahead cut off. For the first time, the Mare Beast showed emotion. His body trembled, not violently, but a subtle shiver that ran along his obsidian hide like a ripple of black water. His nostrils flared, and for the first time I heard him breathe. Short, sharp, ragged pulls of air. His chest rose faster, and the light from my lantern reflected the wild whites of his eyes. Fear. He had never been caught before, never been trapped for all his endless wandering. No one had forced him into a corner, and now, confronted with the walls, with me standing in his way, he panicked. The sound came first, a deep grinding scrape like boulders breaking. I realized with a chill what he was doing. His jaw had opened, and he was gnashing his teeth against the stone walls themselves, desperate to carve a way out. Bits of rock splintered and fell, his mouth tearing at the cavern like a wild thing clawing for escape. Sparks flared in the dark as his teeth struck veins of iron. His hooves shimmered his hoofs slammed at the ground, echoing like thunderclaps in the confined space. Dust rained from the ceiling, my lantern quivered in my hand, and for a moment I thought the whole tunnel would collapse on us both. I should have turned back. Orion's words rang in my head. He doesn't belong to us. He doesn't even belong to the Vel. But I couldn't move. My eyes were locked on him, not with fear, but with awe. This wasn't the unshakable legend the hunters whispered about. This wasn't some ghostly wanderer of the plains. This was an animal, a creature that felt fear, that fought with every ounce of strength not to be caged. I tried to speak. My voice came out hoarse. "I won't hurt you." The words bounced against the stone and fell flat. The Mare Beast didn't stop, his hoofs pounding, his teeth raked the walls. His whole body strained for freedom. The obsidian gleam of his coat seemed sharper in the lantern light. Every muscle struck tight like a bow about to snap. Then his gaze caught mine. For a heartbeat the world stilled, his breath ragged, his eyes wide. I saw something there, not emptiness, not myth, but the simple, raw terror of a living thing. I lowered the lantern slowly, carefully. The light dimmed, shadows swallowed us both. I heard the rhythm of his breath slow, just slightly. The frantic grinding of his teeth softened. He stood, trembling, a trapped animal realizing the hunter before him hadn't struck. And in that fragile silence, I understood. He wasn't a monster to be captured. He wasn't a prize to be claimed. He was an accident of the world, alive by no story, and he wanted only to run. But whether I understood or not, he was still cornered, and the next move was his. The Mare Beast still stood before me, pressed against the cavern wall, trembling so violently I could hear the rattle of his breath echo in the stone. His legs shook, his eyes rolled white, and every line in his body screamed with panic. For the first time I saw him not as a legend, but as a terrified creature trapped with no escape. That's when I heard it. Hoofbeats. Slow, heavy. Every strike against the rock was louder than the last, deliberate as a drum beat. The sound came from behind me, filling the tunnel until it felt like the earth itself was walking closer. I dared to turn my head. Out of the black came another shape, larger, broader. Her hide was darker than the colt, polished like volcanic glass that caught and twisted the glow of my lantern. Her mane shimmered with hard, sharp strands like blades of obsidian, and her eyes, deep, molten, protective, locked on me with a weight that rooted me where I stood. The Mare Beast in front of me froze at the sound. His trembling didn't stop, but it changed. His head lifted, ears pricked forward, nostrils flaring wide. Terror still ran through him, but now it was fixed with something else. Relief. Recognition. I realized too late what was happening. The stories had always painted him as a lone wanderer, a beast with no beginning, no ties, no reason to exist. But they were wrong. He wasn't alone. He wasn't born of nothing. He had a mother. And she was behind me now, closing the tunnel, her hoofs striking sparks as they kissed the stone. The smaller one pressed tighter against the wall, his muscles taut as bowstrings. Still trembling, but no longer frantic. His eyes flickered between me and the great obsidian mare behind me, as if waiting for her to decide his fate. And in that suffocating space between them, I realized I was no longer the hunter. I was caught. A single step forward, and I risked spooking the trembling child before me. Step back, and I might feel the full weight of his mother's wrath. The tunnel was too narrow, the silence too sharp, and for the first time since chasing him, I wish I had listened to Orion, because now I was standing between a terrified beast and the one thing in the world that would kill to protect him. The tunnel shook. The mother slammed her hooves into the stone, obsidian shards clattering loose from the ceiling. Each stomp was a warning, leave or be crushed. Her head lowered, muscles rippling, ready to drive me into the wall with all the fury of the earth itself. I froze. My lantern rattled in my grip. My throat was too dry to shout, too tight to breathe, but before she could charge, the smaller Mare Beast moved. Still trembling, still wide-eyed with fear, he pushed himself off the wall and stepped into the narrow space between us. His legs wobbled under him, but he planted his hoofs firm and let out the sound a sound I can only describe as a broken cry, a high, quivering cue that echoed strangely in the cavern. The mother's charge halted mid-step. Dust sifted down from above as her body went rigid. Her eyes burned with protective fire, but her ears flickered towards the sound her child had made. Another call followed, softer this time, layered with tones I couldn't hope to understand. It wasn't words, but it was a language all the same, sorry. I stood froze, my chest tight. I couldn't comprehend their exchange, but I felt it. The weight of meaning. The little one was speaking to her, pleading, maybe explaining, his voice trembling like his body, but he didn't back down, or back away. Then something happened I never could have expected. The young Mare Beast turned his head toward me, his eyes still wide, still quaking with fear, locked onto mine, and slowly, hesitantly, his muzzle dipped toward the satchel of mine. Before I realized what he was doing, his teeth caught the strap. With surprising care, he tugged, pulling one of my empty glyphs free from its pocket. The crystal casing clinked softly against the stone as he lifted it, holding it loosely between his teeth. I stood there stunned. The same creature who minutes ago had nearly shaken himself to pieces with terror was now offering me the very thing I'd come to collect. He held the glyph as if he understood, as if he was choosing. Behind him, the mother gave a low, rumbling snort that rolled through the cavern walls. Not rage, not an attack, something more like resignation. The little one's legs quivered as he stepped closer, Glyph still clutched in his teeth. He wasn't calm. His flanks heaved. His eyes darted, but he was trying to trust me, and in that moment I realized something that left me breathless. He wasn't just frightened, he was curious, and for reasons I couldn't yet fathom, he was willing, after everything, to consider coming home with me. I reached out slowly, my hand trembling worse than his legs, terrified that a single wrong move would shatter that fragile thread of trust binding us together. I held my breath as the young Mare Beast waited, eyes wide and trembling, Glyph still clutched in his teeth. I moved slowly, careful not to startle him. Every inch felt like walking on glass. Finally, I reached down and gently took the Glyph from his mouth. He flinched at the touch, but didn't pull away. My hands were shaking as I placed it on the cavern floor. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, almost impossibly fast, the Glyph activated. A shimmer of light wrapped around him, warm and gentle, pulling him inside as if welcoming him home. In seconds, he was safely contained. I lifted the newly filled Glyph and tucked it carefully in my bag. My chest swelled with relief. I stood and turned towards his mother, who had been watching the entire exchange. Her massive obsidian frame loomed over me, muscles coiled, yet every line of her body radiated caution, not aggression. She lowered her head She lowered her head so her snout was just inches from mine. I pressed my hand to her cool, gleaming nose, feeling the solid strength beneath her obsidian hide. "It's okay, girl," I whispered. "I'll take great care of your little mare. I'll bring him back for a visit someday, so promise me you'll be here." She sniffed, her warm breath washing over my hand. Then, after a long, tense moment, she let out a low, rolling snort, a sound that carried a mixture of warning and understanding. Without another glance, she turned and trotted off into the tunnels, her hoofs ringing against the stone, fading into silence. I watched her go, my heart still racing. The baby Mare Beast had already stopped trembling, curled inside his Glyph, safe and silent, and though I couldn't yet know what the future held, I felt a strange, unshakable bond linking the three of us, mother, child, and the hunter who had dared to step between them. For the first time, the Mare Beast story didn't feel like a legend or a cautionary tale. It felt real, alive, and somehow miraculous. I knew I had to tell Orion immediately. There was no way I could keep this to myself. Without stopping, I went straight to Luan's academy and right to Orion's classroom, my bag heavy with the young Mare Beast Glyph. I caught him, I said, practically bursting with excitement. Orion spun around in his chair, eyes blazing. You defied me? His tone was sharp, each word dripping with controlled anger. I'm glad I did, I exclaimed, unable to contain myself. I found out something incredible. The Mare Beast. He's not a lone creature. He has a mother. For a moment, Orion's face froze. His eyebrows knitted together, the corners of his mouth tightening. He leaned back slightly, studying me as though trying to measure the truth in my words. Well, that's rather peculiar, he said slowly, his voice losing some of its fury, replaced by measured curiosity. There is nary a mention of mothers in any of the Mare Beast tales, none at all. I pulled the Glyph from my bag and set it on the table, watching as the light shimmered over the obsidian surface. I know it sounds impossible, I said, but he's real, and he has a family. I saw them. The mother, she's massive, obsidian shining like the legends say, but alive, protective, and beautiful. Orion's eyes narrowed, a mixture of skepticism and fascination crossing his face. So the stories we've relied upon, they've been wrong, all of them. Not entirely, I replied, leaning forward. The Mare Beast still has the obsidian shine, the coal-eating habits, all that's true. But the part about him wandering alone, that's a lie. Or at least an incomplete truth. Orion exhaled slowly, rubbing his temples. Curious, most extraordinary, and dangerous to think we've been wrong for so long. The implications for glyph ecology, marvelous and alarming. I grinned, which is why I had to defy you. I couldn't let the truth remain a story. He's not just a myth. He's a living, breathing creature with a mother. And now we know. We have to update the records. Orion studied me for a long moment, then shook his head, a small, reluctant smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. You are impossible, Stelliferous, but I suppose this is why you are the one to uncover the truth. And that, my friends, fellow travelers, fellow glyph catchers, is another story for another week. And may the lights and the stars and the moons and the suns of Nibiru shine their beautiful light down on you. Until next time, have a great and wondrous year. Bye now.